Hey guys, and welcome to the Expansive Journey. My name is Julie, and in this video, we're going to talk about identities and masks that we carry as human beings. And the reason why this is so important is because when we have a spiritual awakening, we start to realize that these are not what we truly are. This is like the main core of awakening, in my perspective, is that we change what we take ourselves to be. And the thing is that the masks or like the personalities that we have external normally is something that we take on in social settings and something that we keep even when we are alone. So they usually solidify in time as we grow up. We become that kind of person with that kind of interest, and we start to identify with a lot of concepts and ideas that are thoughts. So that can be if you are a funny person, you identify as a funny person, or maybe you are a kind person and then you identify as a good person, right? And we want to have identities that make us feel good. And this is also something that I've been talking about with regards to authenticity, and how these identities are not intrinsically authentic. They can be in from moment to moment. Like if you crack a joke and that feels natural, then you are authentic. And if you are show compassion and that feels natural, that is authentic. But the moment you become someone in doing the action, then the ego has taken charge and is sort of like hijacking the show, and it creates an identity which we think will make us feel good, but it's actually trapping us. And as Angelo Di Lullo describes it in his book Awake, It's Your Turn. It's a really good book. I can really recommend it. He calls it a house of mirrors. And it's like we think it will free us by, oh, if I'm going to think that I'm a good person, I'm going to feel good. And then it actually traps us, because what if a moment comes where you do something that's bad, right? If you get angry, or you're hurting someone, then you're not living up to your identity, and then you will feel like cognitive dissonance. It's like when you disappoint yourself because you didn't act as the person you think you are, and you sort of like your identity feels you feel uncomfortable because you couldn't live up to that identity. So, and that's when we defend and we prove and we deny and we sort of like reject these situations, because we try to keep that identity that we think we are. And all of these things is also very like it's psychology actually. And what has this to do with spirituality? And what happens is that when we are children, we experience negative emotions. We are sort of like, it's the human conditioning, and we become aware of the pain body, and which is basically just energy that moves through us. Emotions are energy. And what happens is that when these energies become very uncomfortable, we start to reject them. We start to suppress and deny, and we don't want to feel them. And this creates, it's like our internal or ego creates a snapshot with the emotion tied to a situation, and it becomes a version of us that feels this way, which is like an inner aspect that we have pushed away. And that's sort of like what starts to create our inner shadow, which is will require shadow work when we start to awaken. So imagine that a situation, someone really, really hurt you. And then in that situation, you will, when you were 3 years old or 2 years old, and you felt really sad, and you didn't let that energy move through you. And your brain took a snapshot, and then you have an inner aspect from you were 2 years old where you felt really hurt. And what happens is that when we don't let this energy move through us, it gets stored in our bodies. And to compensate for that, and that's the pain body that will build and build and build over the year. It will accumulate. And Eckhart Tolle speaks about this, and I find that really resonating in my own life. And what we do is that we create an identity to make up for that pain. So if you felt really hurt, maybe you become a people pleaser. Or maybe if you felt really, really guilty as a kid, someone guilt tripped you, like you're a bad person, you're a bad girl, you're a bad boy, right? And then you felt horrible, and then you try to become kind to make up for that. Or maybe someone ashamed you, they really ashamed you, and the only way to actually feel good was to shame others, or to become perfect, right? So we create these identities to compensate for our pain, and we think it will free us, but it actually just traps us even more. And at least in my case, when I started to awaken, I started to feel like the identities that I had taken on through my life, even though I liked them, they felt very unnatural. I couldn't really get myself to believe in them anymore. It just felt like this is not really who I am. I couldn't really put words into it. It just felt very like restless. And then it's like who we think we are is here, which is a shadow of our pain. It's not the other way around. It's not like our shadow is a shadow of who we think we are. It's like who we think we are, then's a shadow, and then's our true self, which is pure consciousness, right? So the shadow will come to the surface when we start to see that these false identities are not really real. And then sort of the layers beyond that will start to become visible for us to release and move into pure consciousness, which we really are. I hope that made sense. Let me know in the comments if that was a little bit unclear, and I can explain it further in another video. So we try to escape our shadows and we try to run away from it, and that's not possible when we start to wake up. And the mask falls off, and we are forced to be somewhat authentic with ourselves first and foremost, right? Because who are you when you are completely alone and you don't think of who you are? You're just being with yourself. Who are you really, right? And that's what we can't think about. That's what the mind can't grasp. So what happens is that we start to question what we are, and we start to feel these identities that they are unreal. So if you are maybe you felt a lot of grief, and you coped with that grief by cracking jokes all the time. I'm so funny. I'm always making fun of things, and it is sort of like a way to cope with your pain. And so it's like the illusions pop. We think we think we are this, and we're living through this idea of who we are. It starts to crumble, and it starts to like show off layers and layers of pain that we release, and then it's like subtle layers of identity that will become visible to us, and they will sort of pop, or they will disappear, and more of what we truly are, or consciousness, will shine through. And as we wake up, this is like the consciousness that we really are is shining on these illusions, and we realize that they're not really who we really are, or what we really are. So yeah, as we go on this journey, we will start to recognize ourselves as pure consciousness, and everything that is not truth and authenticity will start to feel uncomfortable, and we will start to peel it off. It doesn't mean that we can't express different things from moment to moment, but we realize that we don't need to be someone in relation to what we are doing and what we are acting as. So you can crack a joke and be without being a funny person, because what if the next moment you're not funny? Nobody laughs of your jokes, or if you're just not in a funny mood. You are allowed to express everything that moves through you, because it's all just energy. It's all just inner aspects showing up, and life is expressing itself through you or as you from moment to moment. And everything becomes sort of welcome or alive as we start to integrate our shadow and see it for what it really is. And it's aspects that we have rejected, and energy that have felt rejected by consciousness, or by God, actually, by source. So if you're ready to stop with the mind identification, and you're ready to dive deeper into shadow work, and recognize the truth of what you really are from moment to moment, and live life more wondrous, presence, and more spontaneously, then I recommend that you watch my free masterclass, and I will link it in the description below. And you can also book a free clarity call with me if you want to join my program, Awaken You. And until next time, much love and namaste. And remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and always leave me a comment below and let me know if you have any questions or how this resonates with you. Much love and namaste.